Good morning. My team and I are from the Ministry of Education. We were tasked to investigate the problems that were affecting the Pine Hill High School. Based on our findings, we decided to host a workshop within the school, looking at classroom management, specifically dealing with disruptive behavior and distractions within the classroom. Classroom management are a collection of techniques that teachers use to encourage effective learning by minimizing distraction and disruption in the classroom. Disruptive behavior can be defined as any behavior that substantially or repeatedly interferes with the teacher's ability to conduct class, and it also affects other students. Based on our investigations, we found several problems. Today, my team and I will be addressing these problems individually. My team members are Loretta Roberts, Kerry Clark, Monique Martel, and myself, Diane Burton. Based on our investigation, we will be recommending strategies that will improve the learning environment, also mitigate disruptions and distractions. Our strategies will help to improve communication, promote participation, and also enhance learning within the students.
All right, we are here again to discuss disruptive behavior within the classroom. My name is Loretta Roberts, and on my screen we have Kerry Clark, we have Diane Burton, and we have Monique Martel. Welcome, ladies. Welcome again. All right, so today we'll be looking at the scenario with a student who is very disruptive within the classroom setting. So this is a scenario. Jamie likes to taunt the other students in class. Mrs. Dillon didn't know what to do whenever she got involved. Jamie would verbally abuse her. Mrs. Dillon started to question herself. Where did she go wrong? And why didn't she get another job or another class to teach? Now, what classroom management strategies can Mrs. Dillon develop and use to solve the situation? We're going to start off with Kerry Clark.
Alright, so the first thing that I would like to talk about is never any at all to confront deviant behaviors, right? When you confront deviant in front of the class, that is, when you confront these deviant behaviors in front of the class, students might feel ashamed or feel belittled. Now, according to Woodman, in researching education, it says people who are shamed feel a sense of shrinking or being small. So you have to try as best as possible to not let them feel small in front of the class, because it would result in them wanting to disrespect the person who is trying to confront the behavior. And so it's best to shy away from that, because you don't want them to disrespect them. What is best to do is to take them away from the situation and try as best as possible to confront them on a one-on-one basis. Another thing is to avoid any form of wait time between lessons, because if there's a long time between lessons, what will happen is that you're going to have a lot of disruption, and when there's a disruption, we'll have any form of disrespect and all sorts of behavior that we want to avoid.
Right, so the student will basically be retaliating, right? In that sense.
You have to try to keep them as involved and engaged as possible.
All right, thank you, Miss Clark. Let us go over to Miss Burton. What are your thoughts on this? Give me your feedback and your strategy that you would have used in your classroom settings.
Okay, that's what Ms. Clark said. We avoid confrontation. It is important for teachers to avoid confrontation with verbally abusive students. According to Clarnelson and Lambert, they suggested that teachers can simply refuse to participate in the confrontation with the students, and also minimizing competition. Don't try to match the student word for word in an argument. So it will only escalate the abuse.
Mm-hmm.
So during a private meeting with students, explain what are acceptable and non-acceptable classroom behaviors. Remind the students of the school rules and the school code of conduct. This is imperative, and hold the student accountable for their behavior. Let the student establish guidelines and let them have a say in the establishment of the guidelines. Therefore, when they break these guidelines or these rules, they bear the consequence of breaking them, because they are the one who set it and establish it. And also keep these rules documented and have them displayed in the class for everyone to see and be aware of them. Also deal with the abusive students. Do not play favoritism, because once you start showing some favoritism towards one student instead of another, when the rules are broken, it will only cause for more disruption with other students. And do not hesitate in addressing inappropriate behaviors, especially when their behaviors are codes or rules that were already documented.
Very
do not
good.
hesitate to deal with that student. Talk to that student privately and confront them. Do not confront them in front of the class, because that student would want to retaliate based on how you confront them. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Burton. Going over to Miss Monique.
Okay, so I agree with both of my fellow colleagues. So in most instances, some of these students, while some of them may be ashamed if you do call them out in class, some of them actually look forward to it. I don't know what pleasures they get from it, but
More like an attention span.
it may be due to peer pressure.
Mm-hmm.
So I do agree that we should not highlight that behavior. What we could do instead is to highlight good behavior in the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
So try not to use negative feedback. The teacher should model positive behavior. So even when these children are behaving badly, the teacher should still respond to them in a respectable way and show them how they should behave. Even in adversity, the teacher should continue to do that. In some instances, she could try to isolate the students from the classroom if it's too disruptive,
Mm-hmm.
or if it's a case where she has to move other students to safety if it's getting really out of hand.
Mm-hmm.
She or he may have to consider that.
All right, thank you. But as I'm thinking here, within that classroom setting and that classroom environment, we could also encourage friendly competitions, where, because they're always taunting each other, right? We could use like games where you put that child with another child to just make them feel complete. Let them feel like be a part of that particular class. Let them feel loved and feel whole in that environment, right? So we could use maybe a quizzy, a Kahoot, a Jeopardy game, but you don't want the game to be too much of a competitive one. You want it to be in that sense where they are actually in a learning environment and they're actually learning something. So it is in the sense where who knows what, right? So it's like a team effort. So you build that rapport with that student so that they can build that rapport amongst each other in order to build that environment more of a friendly one rather than a segregated one.
Add that what the teacher can also do is to encourage initiative to promote a growth mindset in the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
Now, according to Price Mitchell 2018, in How Kids Learn to Take Initiative, students who learn to take initiative or who lack initiative are more prone to depression.
Mm-hmm.
And so what you could do is to create a variety of activities that will be centered around them taking initiative,
Mm-hmm.
or also, putting them in groups and, ensuring that they are will get things that will help
Yeah.
them stay productive and to, contribute to.
I think so too. 'Cause the social skills is such a really good thing for students to do in regards to goal setting, teamwork, and responsibility. And you find that group work can also help quieter the student, right, to connect with each other. So that is good reinforcement, respectfully, between students' behavior and the class. All right, let us look at the next scenario. Right.
Yes, so the next scenario that we would like to talk about, that is another pressing scenario, is that Mrs. O'Brien, she's employed to the Shrewsbury High School, and she realized that on many occasions, students blatantly violate the school rules, and she has made attempts to talk to the students, but all seem futile, right? So we would like to know, what are some of the things that can be done to address these issues?
All right. Let me.
Loretta, would you like to begin?
Sure, no problem. So, the first thing I am thinking about is to encouragement and reinforcement of praise, right? For the effort. For example, when the student is trying hard to make an effort to make a change within the classroom or within themselves, you could, let the student come up with ways to ensure that the rules are not broken. Let him or her have a class contract. He can make a contract between the class and the student to say, all right, if I break this contract, this is what I think is best to be punished by. But remember, when you're making your rules, don't let it backfire on you. You must ensure that when these rules are being in place, each and every student agree to it, and that's where the contract would have come into place. All right. Now, could also be clear about the expectation of a student, right? For praise to be effective, students need to know what the standards are and explicitly state the criteria you are using to evaluate their behavior that you expect them to use, right? Now, provide positive feedback that students can directly match to the expectation that is expected. Such as, for example, if you are expecting it for students to arrive early in the morning for class, because the student is someone who normally comes to class late every single day and disrupt your class, right? So you want to say, well, John, I am impressed. Say, for instance, they come early tomorrow morning and said, wow, John, I'm very impressed with what I'm seeing. I like the attitude. I like the positive attitude. So you want to give them that, positive feedback. And also, you can talk to them about, tell them why you are impressed. I am impressed that you have changed your attendance. And I'm seeing you're coming more earlier in the mornings and you're regularly coming to
I agree with everything that Ms. Roberts has said, but when students break rules, I believe you should explain to the student what is expected of them when they break the rule. Because breaking rule is a choice, as a choice that each student choose to break the rule, and it's not by accident. So you're going to let the student be aware that you know that they're breaking these rules, and it's not the first time. So when you see these things happening, you realize that these problems need to be fixed. So there's some ways in which strategies that you can use is explain like the consequences to these students. That if you break these rules, these are the consequences. These are the penalty for you breaking these rules. Right. And depending on the severity of the rules that they break, it can depend on the type of penalty or consequence that with there. So each time a student break a rule, they should follow a system that if you break the rule, this is the punishment in the classroom. So you want to treat every student equally. You don't want to adopt any favoritism in that situation where if John break the rule today, he get a bye, and then tomorrow Joan break it, you're going to punish us. It has to be equal. take away privilege from that
Mm-hmm.
student if they break a rule. Like if they used to get a break or an early session, you take away that privilege from them. And also, you have something known as breakout time. You can instill breakout time where they get a timeout that they can examine themselves and develop some sort of self-control towards respecting the rules.
Monique?
Okay, so I agree with you guys. However, for classroom rules, I think we could focus more on like restorative practices.
Mm-hmm.
And these basically, rather than focusing on rules, it focuses on empowering students to learn from their choices that are not acceptable and to understand that it impacts those actions, impacts others as well as themselves, and it encourages them to grow personally and to understand how to make better decisions and resolve problems. So I'm just going to tell you like a few benefits of restorative practices in the classroom as highlighted by Edwy. So it basically builds relationships between students. It allows them to be respectful for all and to involve relevant stakeholders. So it encourages them to be accountable as well as it addresses harms, needs, and obligations. So two examples of this could be just students using affective statements like expressing how they feel, analyzing why they feel that way and what they can do to feel better. Or they could do collaborative class agreements, as Loretta mentioned, where they would be involved in creating classroom rules, which will help to make a positive classroom environment for all. So instead of the rules being set in stone, students at the start of the year can decide and add or comment and amend certain rules under the guidance of the teacher as suggested by Ms. Roberts earlier on.
True.
So I think that could be another approach in collaboration with the rules as well. But to just focus on empowering the students to be a better person.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, so that's true. Having defined rules and praise good behavior and also allow the students to set the rules or at least amend them or comment on the rules. So that is good. I agree with them as well as what we can also do is to get the parents involved. Most times when the students are behaving,
That's the key.
Deviant way, sometimes the parents are not aware of what is happening at school. Sometimes they don't know until probably parent day or when they get called into school. And so it's important to get the parents involved. Have an open door policy where the parents can probably call in or they get frequent updates on the behavior of the student, right? So if you have a student who is behaving or disobeying the school rules, what you could do is to always get the parents involved so that the parent can know, all right, I know my child is like this, and so I'm going to ensure that I talk to the child or I try as best as possible to visit the school unannounced to the child, of course, so that you can have a check or know what is happening. Because when students know that their parents are on board, they're less likely to continue that behavior.
That's
And
true.
the students don't have to come to school.
Right.
That's
And
true.
some of the parents don't even know how to handle the disruptions, so educating them.
But also it is good.
To deal with them.
It is good when the teacher and the parent have that rapport, because you would know what is actually happening at home as well as with the student. And sometimes when you end up understanding what is really happening at home, it is easier for you to break through with the student or the child that is in your class with that disruptive behavior.
So parents have to stay in touch with what's going on in the students' life.
Right. So we have spoken about the different disruptive behavior within the classroom in regards to students' behavior, the rules that is broken, right? The way of how the teacher will handle these situations within the classroom and methods that we use to handle these situations. You know, it's a good practice that we as teachers would be able to reach our students and to put these classroom management strategies in place so that we are able to uplift our class and to be able to manage. Sometimes it's also good that you set that precedent